For thousands of years, the Zarathy Empire ruled the stars. Planet by planet, they moved through galaxies like a storm. Their ships were massive, black like space and sharp like blades. No species could stop them.
Oh no.
Army could stand against. Them, the Zarathy, didn't believe in mercy. When they arrived, they destroyed cities, broke moons, made the survivors into slaves. Admiral Croth stood on the bridge of his flagship, Crimson Maw, watching another world burn beneath them. The fires danced across the surface like celebration lights. Felt no guilt. He had done this 100 times before. This was the way of the Empire. Conquer, control, crush. Another easy victory, his second-in-command said with a smirk. These weaklings begged before they died. Croth grunted, they always do. Small alert blinked on the main screen, a signal, faint. Old code, unknown origin. What is that? Croth asked. A technician looked up, confused. It's not from this system. It's coming from the edge of Andromeda Gate. A single ship. No ID match. Croth narrowed his eyes. One ship? Is it Zarathy? No, Admiral. It's unhuman. Silence fell over the bridge. Humans. Someone whispered. I thought they vanished. Croth remembered the old stories. Stories told in secret, always with fear. Stories of a race called humans Deathworlders, who fought with madness and fire. But those were myths, weren't they? Put it on screen, okay? A blurry image appeared. A dark gray ship. No flags. No signals. Yeah? Just floating silently in space like a ghost. They're hailing us, the technician said, voice shaking. Croth crossed. His arms answered, the screen flashed, and a figure appeared. A man older, with cold eyes and a scar down his cheek. He wore a black uniform with a faded emblem, something like a broken wing and a blade. This is Commander Riker of the Remnant, the man said. Croth sneered. You're outnumbered. Leave before I erase you. But Riker didn't blink. He just stared through the screen like he was reading Croth's soul. You've gone far enough, he said calmly. Turn around, go home, or be stopped. The Zarathy officers laughed. You threaten us? Alone? Croth grinned. We are the Zarathy Empire. We've crushed thousands of worlds. We burned suns. You think one little ship can stop us? Riker's voice stayed calm. This isn't about numbers. This is about limits. Yours. Then the screen went dark. Fool, Croth spat. Lock weapons. Send a cruiser. Wipe him out. One of the smaller Zarathy cruisers moved forward, fast and aggressive. It fired all its plasma cannons. Beams lit the dark space like lightning, but the Remnant didn't move. Then, in 1 second, the cruiser vanished. No explosion, no debris. No scream. It just disappeared. Gasps filled the bridge. The radar was empty. Nothing remained. Croth's face turned pale. What? What was that? The technician stammered. It's like it was never there. Before anyone could speak, the Remnant turned slowly, its front pointed toward the main fleet. Still no movement, no weapons raised. But now, the silence was loud, heavy, deadly. Croth clenched his fists. Call for reinforcements now. His voice echoed across the bridge, but deep inside, fear was growing. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Zarathy had found something they didn't understand. Something ancient, something patient, something human. The stars around the Andromeda Gate grew quiet. The Zarathy fleet, made of over 300 warships, waited like a pack of hungry beasts. But none dared move again. They had just seen one of their own, the cruiser Bloodclaw. Ish without fire, without sound, without warning. Admiral Croth paced the bridge of the Crimson Maw, his long black coat dragged across the polished floor. His mind raced, but he showed no fear. Not yet. Was it stealth tech? He barked. No, sir. We scanned everything. Nothing touched the Bloodclaw, the technician replied. It was just gone. Croth turned to the main screen. There, floating alone in the emptiness, was the human ship. The Remnant, it wasn't. Big, like their dreadnoughts. It didn't glow with energy like their plasma ships. It looked ... old. The hull was dark and scratched, parts of it mismatched. One engine flickered as if broken. It should have been junk, and yet it stood in front of them, alone, unshaken. "Send 3 destroyers," Croth ordered coldly. "Surround it, do not fire. Let's see if it runs." The destroyers moved like sharks in water, fast and careful. The Remnant didn't react. No movement, no message. But then the radar screamed. All 3 destroyers, offline. What? They didn't explode, just vanished from sensors. No signal, no distress call. Croth's eyes widened. This wasn't stealth. This wasn't war. This was something else. The comms officer looked pale. "Admiral, the Remnant is hailing us again." Croth nodded. The screen flickered. Commander Riker appeared once more, still calm. Still alone. His voice was slow, deep, controlled. "You tested the line," Riker said. "You lost 3 more. I suggest you stop." Croth growled, "What kind of ship are you? What weapon are you using?" Riker's eyes glowed faintly. "This ship was built for one purpose: to end wars. It remembers every battle, every loss, every death, and it's been sleeping. Until now, lies." Croth shouted, "You use tricks." Riker leaned closer. "Do you know what Protocol Remnant means? It means we gave the galaxy a chance to forget us, but now, ... you made us remember." Then the screen cut. Panic broke across the fleet. Captains called in. Some wanted to retreat. Others wanted to fire everything at once, but the Remnant didn't fire. Not yet. It just moved slowly, carefully, like a predator circling its prey. And then something new happened. A signal appeared on every Zarathy ship, an ancient code. The language was human, very old. One word flashed again and again: observer. Zarathy, historian on board, looked pale. "Admiral, I've seen this code before. It's not just a ship. It's part of the old human fleet. The one that ended the Turvac War." "That's a myth," Croth snapped. "No, sir. I studied it. The humans disappeared long ago. But their warships were never destroyed. They were sealed away, hidden. They called them Guardians of the Line, ships built to watch the edge of space, to wake up if a new threat appeared." Croth's voice dropped, and we crossed the line. The historian nodded. "Yes, and now it's awake." The bridge fell into silence. Outside, the Remnant slowly turned its nose toward the heart of the fleet. Its engines lit up bright and unnatural. Gravity around the ship bent, light twisted. And then it vanished from sight. Not cloaked, it's not hidden, gone. But a moment later, it reappeared inside the Zarathy formation. It's right in the center. And then finally it fired. Not plasma, not lasers, just one pulse. Blue, silent. Wave passed through space like a ripple on water. 20 ships shut down instantly. No lights, no power, no control. Dead. The Remnant moved again, vanishing once more. Now, the fleet truly panicked. The Empire, that had never lost, now faced something beyond war. A ghost from the past, a relic of humanity, a warship with memory, and a mission. Far from the battlefield, in the great Zarathy archive world of Valtheris, young scholar Ikron stared at a blinking symbol on an ancient star map. He had no rank, no power. It's just books, old codes, and forgotten languages. But now his hands were shaking. The symbol wasn't Zarathy. It wasn't even recent. It was human. It was older than anything he had ever seen. He zoomed in. The word glowed in red. Remnant status. Awakened. Ikron rushed into the grand hall of knowledge, pushing past elder scholars and guards. "Need to speak to the High Lorekeeper." Now, the elders scoffed, but Ikron didn't stop. "It's real," he said breathlessly. The human guardians. They were never destroyed. They were hidden, sleeping on the edge of known space. And one just woke up. The room went silent. High Lorekeeper Vrel stepped forward. Her voice was sharp. "You speak of myths, you waste. Our time? No, Ikron said, holding up a hologram. This isn't myth, it's prophecy. A warning carved into the ruins of the dead Varnak's world. He tapped the display. A message played crackling, old, spoken in a calm, human voice. To any empire that dares to stretch too far, know that we watch. We do not rule, we do not conquer, but we remember. And when the line is crossed, we return. The elders stared, frozen. Back in space, the Zarathy fleet was breaking apart. Captains screamed overcomes. Ships disappeared or shut down mid-flight. No one knew where the Remnant would appear next, moved without warning. No sound, no heat, just a blur. And then silence. Admiral Croth's voice echoed across emergency channels. Retreat. Regroup at Sector Theta. We are under unknown. The threat. But it was too late. The Remnant appeared again, this time directly above the Zarathy supply carriers. It didn't fire. It sent out another pulse. The fuel cores of 5 carriers imploded, turning into blue sparks and vanishing from space, not destroyed, erased, like they had never existed. Croth slammed his fists. How is this possible? Junior officer, trembling, whispered, it's not just weapons, it's memory warfare. That ship erases things from history. Explain. If the ship targets you, it doesn't just destroy you, it cuts you from the timeline. It's no trace, no wreckage. Even the systems forget you were ever there. The Admiral stared in horror. The Remnant wasn't killing them, it was unmaking them. On Voltheris, Ikron read deeper into the old texts. His hand shook. These ships were made during the last Galactic War, when humanity faced enemies that couldn't die. So they built machines that could erase, not just kill, but delete. Lorekeeper Varel looked pale. Why would the humans create such a thing? Ikron looked up, his voice soft, because they knew one day someone like us would rise, proud, merciless, and too blind to see the edge of the cliff. Varel whispered. And now, we've fallen off it. Back at the Andromeda Gate, the Remnant hovered silently over the crippled Zarathy fleet. A wide broadcast opened again. Riker's face appeared calm as always. You were warned. No threat. No rage. It's just cold judgment, he continued. We are not saviors. We are not gods. We are the result of your forgetting. We only appear when remembering becomes necessary. Suddenly, every Zarathy screen flashed the same image. A field of burning ships, dead planets, empty thrones, all caused by the Remnant. Long ago. But that wasn't the end of the message. The last line said, this is not war. This is balance. And then the Remnant vanished once again. On Voltheris, Ikron spoke one final truth. The humans didn't disappear. They became legends. They waited. And when we stepped too far, their silence ended. The Zarathy Empire had never known fear, till now. After losing dozens of ships and thousands of soldiers without a single visible shot, Admiral Croth knew. They couldn't win through strength alone. But Zarathy do not surrender, they scheme. So Croth formed a new plan. He gathered the greatest minds of the Empire war scientists, engineers, shadow tacticians. Together, they designed a trap. Not just a battlefield, but a maze of death. They named it Operation Starcage. Let's see if this ghost ship can escape a cage built by gods, Croth growled. The setup. Near the twin suns of Ilar Prime, the Zarathy deployed over 3,000 ships. They created overlapping gravity wells, placed black hole simulators, and filled the sector with plasma mines and energy nets. They summoned dreadnoughts, AI-controlled cruisers, and weapon platforms hidden. Inside asteroid fields, it was not a battle plan. It was a cosmic execution chamber. At the center, they left one fake target, a disabled cruiser broadcasting a distress call in human language. On the edge of the trap, the Remnant appeared. Silent as always, cold, alone. Inside, Commander Riker stood at the helm. His AI Vara whispered in his ear, enemy presence, extreme. Estimated survival chance, 3.2%. Recommended action, retreat. Riker didn't blink. We don't retreat, we teach. We tapped a control panel. The Remnant moved forward. Into the jaws of the trap. The moment the ship crossed the first marker, everything activated. Thousands of minds lit up. Gravity fields slammed shut like invisible prison bars. Energy nets formed blinding walls of plasma. Zarathy weapons fired from every angle. Admiral Croth watched from a command ship far away. His eyes wide, his grin wicked. Now, burn, he whispered. But the Remnant did not burn. It vanished again, not cloaked. Not hidden. Gone. Gone, sensors screamed. Gravity fields overloaded. Its plasma walls flickered. Missiles struck nothing but space. Where is it? Zarathy captains cried over comms. Then one by one the hidden control ships inside the trap began to disappear, not explode, not break, just gone. One moment there is the next, removed from history. In his command ship, Croth stood frozen. It's inside the cage. No, said the technician. It is the cage now. Suddenly, across every Zarathy's screen, Riker's voice echoed. You've built a trap. You forgot to ask, who taught you how? Cameras activated across the fleet. Zarathy saw something impossible. Human ships not new, not modern, ancient, dusty, glowing with forgotten tech. They shimmered into view across the system, dark hulks covered in scars from battles long erased from time. Hidden within comets, buried in asteroids, fused with dead moons. They had been here all along sleeping, and the Remnant had awakened them. Panic spread. Hundreds of Zarathy ships turned to flee, but the escape routes had already shifted. Gravity. Wells reversed. Minds realigned. Paths twisted into loops. Now, the trap belonged to the humans. A Zarathy dreadnought tried to fire a planet smasher beam. It exploded from the inside. A squad of assault ships launched toward deep space. All vanished mid-flight. Croth screamed, "Shut it all down." Shut it. His screen went black. A single line of human code appeared. You were warned. The next 10 minutes, 80% of the Zarathy fleet was erased from the system. The stars burned with white light, and then silence. From the edge of the battlefield, the Remnant reappeared, slowly drifting, unharmed. Inside. Riker stared at the fading lights of the Zarathy trap. His hand hovered over the console. Begin Phase 2, he said. Vara replied, acknowledged. Waking old friends. Far away, in deep galaxies, more human. Ships began to stir. The stars were about to remember what fear looked like. Admiral Croth stood in silence on his shattered command bridge. His golden armor was cracked. Smoke filled the air. Of the 3,000 warships that formed the star cage, fewer than 50 remained. The rest were gonna not destroyed, but erased. Like they never existed. No debris, no distress calls, no bodies to bury. Just nothing, and in the heart of the wreckage. The human warship Remnant floated like a shadow, untouched and terrifying, for the first time in his life. Croth did something no Zarathy warrior had done in 1,000 years. He said, "Open negotiations, Cross." The galaxy, in the Zarathy High Command Tower, fear had replaced arrogance. The Emperor's Council sat in silence, their heads low. The Empire was collapsing. "We cannot beat them," one minister whispered. "They are not an army, they are," punishment said another. The Emperor clenched his jaw. "Then we offer a deal, a truce." "But what do we offer too?" That no one had an answer. A diplomatic vessel, the Varnal Light, was sent under a white signal. Unarmed. Fragile. Inside were the best negotiators of the Empire elders, ambassadors, even priests. As they approached the Remnant, tension filled the air. They sent a message on all channels to the human ship. "This is not a call for battle. We wish to speak. In peace." There was no reply for 3 minutes. Then a simple message came back. Send one. The chosen delegate was Elder Vex. Ova. 600 cycles old. wise, calm, a master of diplomacy. He entered the Remnant. Alone, the ship's interior was silent, cold, metallic, and ancient. Symbols of forgotten wars lined the walls. Elder Vex felt small inside it, like he had stepped into the memory of a giant. He was brought to the command room, where Commander Riker stood. Riker didn't greet him, didn't smile, just stared. "I bring an offer from the Zarathy High Council," Elder Vex said gently. "We propose a ceasefire. We will halt all expansion, surrender several star systems," and Riker raised a hand. "You don't get to offer terms." Vex froze. "Surely there is something we can. You killed billions," Riker said, his voice low and flat. "You erased civilizations, turned children into slaves, for sport, for empire. And now, you want peace?" Vex bowed his head. "We were proud, foolish, but we can change." Riker stepped forward. "You want to live, that's all. Let's be honest," Elder Vex whispered. "Yes." Riker stared into the Elder's eyes for a long moment. Then finally, he spoke. "You have 3 choices. Option 1, surrender, completely, unharmed. Every fleet, release every enslaved species. Destroy your own weapons, leave your empire in ruins, and never fly beyond your own stars again. Option 2, retreat. Go home, stay in your territory, never expand, never attack. Live quietly, and we won't erase you. Option 3, resist. Try to rebuild, try to fight, and we will erase your name from history, so cleanly that even your gods will forget you existed." Elder Vex's breath caught in his throat. "This is not peace. This is domination." Riker nodded. "That's what you've been doing to others for centuries. This is what it feels like when you're on the ground," Elder Vex whispered. "Will you give us time to choose?" Riker turned away. "You have 10 cycles, then we move." Elder Vex returned to his ship, heart heavy, soul shattered. For the first time in his long life, he knew the weight of defeat. Back on the Remnant, Vara's voice spoke softly. "That was mercy, Riker. You once said we should never show them mercy." Riker stared into the void of space. His voice barely a whisper. "Mercy is for the innocent. This is the last warning." In the darkness of the galaxy, other human ships began to awaken. Long forgotten, rusted, sleeping giants. One by one, they turned toward the Zarathy stars, and far above, stars watched. The Zarathy High Council had 10 cycles to decide. They spent 9 arguing. Some screamed for surrender. Some demanded retreat, but one voice, loud, proud, and poisonous, rose above them all. General Tavrix, the last warlord of the Zarathy Corps. He slammed his clawed fist on the council table. "We will not kneel before ghosts. The humans are not ghosts," replied an elder. "They are storms given form." Tavrix growled. "Then we meet the storm head on," and so the choice was made. They would fight. A message was sent across every remaining system. Final command, unleash. All forces. The last megafactories roared to life. Forgotten war machines rolled out of deep vaults. Soldiers were pulled from stasis. Even dark tech banned by ancient treaties was activated. Over 10,000 ships gathered near the Black Star of Orcal. The Zarathy called it the last spear. Far away, the Remnant received the signal. Riker read the message. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He simply placed a hand on the control panel. "Vara," he said, "initiate awakening protocol. Final dawn." The AI replied, confirmed, releasing remaining human sentinels. Across dead galaxies, buried ruins, and sealed rift gates, other remnants began to stir. Ships made from materials unknown. Engines that bent space without fuel. Weapons that didn't fire beams but erased possibilities. They weren't warships. They were memories of extinction. At Vorthkal, the sky turned dark. The final Zarathy fleet stood proud, forming a living wall of fire and metal. General Tavrix stood on the bridge of the Terror Fang, a battleship carved from comet bones. His face twisted into a cruel grin. Let them come. They came. Not one. Not 10. Hundreds. Remnants. Old human vessels. each unique. Each alive in a way Zarathy minds couldn't understand. Some looked like floating temples. Others pulsed like beasts.
Ow.
One had rings that spun in impossible directions, bending light. Like it was water. Tav, Rix laughed. Still outnumbered. But then, the sky opened from behind reality. Something emerged. A ship the size of a moon, not built, grown. The last remnant. Oblivion's echo, the first and final of its kind. It controlled not by crew, but by the voices of every human lost. To war, Zarathy ships fired first. Missiles, plasma beams, dark matter, everything. The human ships didn't return fire. They waited. Then the Oblivions. Pulsed once. Time itself cracked. Ships froze mid-flight. Entire squadrons disappeared. Tavrix's ship tried to escape warp. The warp bent and snapped. Thousands of Zarathy's screamed as their ships collapsed into silence. Still, Tavrix lived. The ship burned, but he ordered one final charge. Rammed them. The Terror Fang roared forward toward the Remnant, the one Riker piloted as. The ships neared. Riker opened a channel. He spoke only 3 words. Your time ends. The Remnant didn't fire. It blinked. One instant, it was far. The next hit was inside Terror Fang, phased halfway through the engine core. Taft gasped. What? Then his ship folded in on itself. After 2 hours, it was over. Over 10. 1,000 Zarathy warships had been wiped out. Not one human ship was destroyed. On the ruined battlefield, only one remnant remained. Riker floated through the silence. Var's voice broke the stillness. No Zarathy signals detected. Resistance eliminated. Riker closed his eyes. Then we finish it. All across the Zarathy Empire, every colony, base, and stronghold received one signal: lay down arms or disappear. And nothing more needed to be said. The Zarathy Empire was gone, not conquered, not enslaved, erased. Whole star systems now showed no signs of Zarathy presence. Maps rewrote themselves. History books glitched. Even some memories faded, as if the Zarathy had never existed at all. Only whispers remained. Whispers of a ship called the Remnant. On a distant farming moon, young alien girl looked up at the night sky. Grandfather, she asked, what happened to the warlords who burned planets? The old man smiled softly and pointed to a faint, flickering star. That star used to have a name, he said, but someone made it forget. In the years that followed the final stand, the galaxy shifted. Nations paused their conquests. Armies returned home. Border fights stopped. Treaties were signed in silence, because everyone remembered what had happened near the Black Star of Orcal. They remembered the sky splitting open. They remembered a voice that came not with threats, but with finality. You were warned. Many searched for the humans afterward. Explorers, historians, survivors. But none found them. They had come like shadows, rewritten the story, and vanished once more. Some say the Remnant returned to its grave between galaxies. Others believe it still watches, cloaked within the stars, waiting. And some don't believe it was ever real. But then, strange signs began to appear. A warship, ready to strike, suddenly lost all power for 7 seconds, just enough time for peace talks to succeed. A slave transport vanished before it reached orbit, leaving the captives free. A tyrant's fleet broke into pieces, all systems corrupted with an old human code. History has eyes. On a cold moon near the galactic rim, an archive keeper named Ikranolder now. Wiser taught his students something no Zarathy school had allowed before. He spoke of the Deathworlders, of a people who lived on a violent planet, who fought wars, bled for each other, and made mistakes. But when the galaxy crossed the line, they didn't scream. They returned, not to conquer, not to rule, but to remind. Back in deep space, somewhere between time and light, the Remnant floated. Inside, Commander. Riker sat alone in the command chair. His hands rested on the console. His eyes closed. He breathed slowly. Vera's voice broke the silence. Mission complete. No threats detected. Shall we return to sleep? Riker didn't answer at first. He looked out the window at the peaceful galaxy. No, he said finally. Let's drift a little longer. One last message was sent. Not to any empire, not to any army, but to the stars. A simple human phrase. We are still here. We never left. Just give us a reason. We'll remind you again, okay? And that's how the legend of the Remnant was born. A ghost ship that appeared when the galaxy needed a lesson. Single human warship that stood against 1,000. Not for glory, not for revenge, but for balance. Because some legends don't need statues. Some only need silence and stars.